Welcome to Talk Travel with Heather Tate, North Mississippi's podcast for savvy travelers. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is a weekly podcast that airs every Monday on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi, and is then released as a podcast. Travel advisor and travel enthusiast Heather Tate of Whimsical Destinations gives listeners expert travel tips curated through the years of personal and professional experience. By clicking subscribe, you'll have a new travel tip to add to your collection delivered to your podcast library every Monday. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is brought to you by Sun Bear Studio. Sun Bear Studio is a boutique recording studio in the heart of Ripley, Mississippi. When you record with us at Sun Bear Studio, we can mix, master, register, and publish your music, your podcast, or your family story. Email us when you're ready at sunbear@jc.media.
This program was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi travelers. This is Heather with Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I'm so excited to share my adventures and tried and true tips with you, whether you are also a seasoned traveler, a hopeful traveler, or currently an armchair traveler, meaning you're going to follow along with us from home for now. This is our 157th episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate. And this week, I'm going to talk to you all about yachting around Croatia. Our big summer adventure this year included a new type of transportation for us. We have been on some of the largest cruise ships in the world, so it was a dramatic shift going to a 20-cabin yacht as we sailed from island to island throughout the European country of Croatia. It was an experience that we will never forget, and I'm very grateful that we had this opportunity and we were able to share it with our boys. You're going to hear more about that next week from their perspective. So why Croatia? That was the number one question we were asked. Whenever people would ask where we were going this summer, what was our big trip for this year? And I said Croatia, and people wanted to know why. Well, Croatia is now emerging as an up-and-coming tourism mecca. It is like Greece meets Italy without the crowds, I feel like, and they're so hospitable there. They really are. And there's so much to see. It is definitely a place where the movie stars and the rich and famous are going. But then you have a lot of people that are experiencing it and seeing how this is where people are choosing to spend their vacation. Not just Europeans, but Americans now are going to Croatia. There are over 1,200 islands. Now, this is a country that is along the coastline of the Adriatic Sea. So it is right across the Adriatic from Italy. So the side where Venice is located, and for 500 years, the Venetians were over in Croatia. So you'll see a heavy Italian influence there. So I have a friend who has had the experience of yachting around Croatia now 5 or 6 times. And she has told me for years that it is her favorite destination. And I know for someone who is as well-traveled as she is, if she said it was her favorite destination, that I was willing to give it a chance. And she did not oversell it because it was even more amazing than I expected. Now, I have been to Croatia before. We actually went in 2019, so 6 years ago. We were on a Mediterranean cruise that left out of Venice, and we went to 3 ports in Greece, we went to Montenegro, and we went to Dubrovnik, which when people think of Croatia because of Game of Thrones, and that's where several seasons were filmed, in Dubrovnik specifically, whenever they think about it, that's what they think about. And so we went for just one day. I had a taste of Croatia for one day, and I knew just based on that one day that I wanted to go back. And I was like, if we ever get the opportunity to go back, I would like to. So we had the opportunity. That was something we could not turn down because we were going to get to go to so many different islands and in a way that we've never traveled before, where we were going to be in the heart of the old towns. And instead of it just being like a cruise where you hop on and hop off and you sail through the night, this was more like a floating hotel experience. Whenever you would park the yachts would dock against each other. They would all line up, and you would walk across from one yacht to the next until you got to the shore. So we were right beside forts and castles and the main restaurants, Michelin star restaurants, gelato, and all sorts of coffee shops were all right there. And we could get on and off as much as we wanted to without having to have a sail and sign card. So it was a really cool experience. Now, I knew that we needed to fly in a few days early. So we flew into Split, which I'll be honest, until I started researching for this trip, I had barely even heard of Split. And it's the second largest city in Croatia. So we decided we were going to spend 2 nights there, and we stayed in a 300-year-old building. It was called Sleep Split, and it was right outside the old town, Diocletian's Palace. So Diocletian was a Roman emperor. He was the only Roman emperor who actually got to retire, and his palace is not your typical palace like you would see, like the Palace of Versailles or of Windsor Castle or Buckingham Palace. This palace is the size of the old town. So people in the city live there. They work there. There's shops. There's restaurants amidst where his home was as well. There's cathedrals. So it was a really cool experience to stay within a stone's throw of Diocletian's Palace, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We were able to do a tour, which was wonderful, gave us a really good idea, everything that there was to see there. This is from 1700 years ago. Like, the Roman Empire was in Croatia. And so there are moments when you're looking around and you couldn't tell where you were. Like, if you were, am I in Croatia or am I in Italy? There were so many similarities. So we climbed bell towers with beautiful views of the city. We also climbed, and I did not take the advice of our tour guide of Diocletian's Palace, we climbed the hill of Marian Park, which is supposed to have the most amazing overlook, and it did. It really did have a beautiful overlook. But we were warned to go later in the day, like around, 7 p.m. Well, I thought we can go at 6, get a head start. It was still so hot that by the time we got halfway up the hill, this huge staircase, I was ready for an Aperol Spritz and to sit back. And the boys each wanted a lemonade. And I was like, we're just going to overlook at this beautiful view while I catch my breath. And they wanted to go up even higher. So we saw a lot in our 2 days in Split, ate at some amazing restaurants there, had a lot of gelato, and the best pizza I've ever had. And I've been to Italy now 3 times, and this was the best pizza I've ever had. The yacht itself, I'll give you a little bit of information about it. It was an 11-crew member yacht. The cabin sizes were very small, so 2 per cabin, which meant, since the boys were going with us, we had to have 2 cabins. We've never done this before, but we went downstairs to get to our cabins. We did have small portholes. Our cabins were right across from each other in an interior hallway. They opened up, so we felt really confident that it would be an okay experience, and it ended up being amazing. The boys had their privacy, we had our privacy, and we were only in our cabins to sleep. The bathrooms were a very nice size. I've been on many a cruise ship, and our bathrooms were much nicer, I feel like, on the yacht than any other cruise I've ever been on. But the entire yacht was really an extension of our cabin. So we had full range of where we could go. We had all breakfast and lunches served on the yacht, and they were included. So breakfast was buffet style. It started at 7:30 in the morning. I was there at 7:30 on the dot, ready for breakfast, which was delicious. Homemade pastries, eggs, mimosas. I love starting my day that way. Beautiful fruit plates and cheese plates. We had a great breakfast every morning. Now, lunch was a huge ordeal. An amazing 4-course meal every lunch. And they catered to if you had an allergy or dietary restriction. Christian and I are both vegetarians. So every meal, we had 4 courses of vegetarian-friendly dishes. So we ate differently for a lot of our courses than London and Logan did, but I got some really good pictures of their food too. We also were able to have 2 dinners on the yacht. So the rest of the time, whenever we would pull up into a destination, and we went to so many beautiful places, the rest of the time, we would eat in the cities themselves. So we had the best of both worlds. We had great experiences with our dining on the yacht, and then we had the freedom to go to dinner wherever we wanted to that night. We also had a cappuccino machine on board. Christian took advantage of the hot chocolate, and there was a bar where we could get drinks specialized for us. So it was wonderful. Some of my favorite highlights of the yacht were just cruising after breakfast amidst the islands, dotting the beautiful turquoise waters in the Adriatic. Like, this beautiful water just took my breath away. I have been to some of the most beautiful islands in the Caribbean, and the water in Croatia rivals the Caribbean, if not surpasses a lot of the places there. One of my favorite ports was in Trojer, and the entire town itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You could dock right beside the castles and the forts, and the restaurants were all in a row. It was beautiful at night. So we did go tour the fort during the day, and then at night it was all lit up from the yacht. So you could sit on the top deck in the hot tub if you wanted to, overlooking the forts with all of the beautiful buildings right there, and you were in the heart of the city. Oh, I feel like I've just gotten started telling you about this incredible experience of yachting through Croatia, but that's all the time we have for the radio portion of the show. If you would like to tune in for the extended version, I'm going to add some more things on this podcast episode. We are back with yachting around Croatia. I was telling you about some of the ports we went to, and I've also told you about some of the food. I told you about having the best pizza I've ever had, the gelato we had every day because it was less expensive than going to a Baskin-Robbins here, but instead you had homemade everything, local ingredients, everything was fresh. I made a list of all the different types of gelato that I tried on this trip, from lemon pie to tiramisu to dark chocolate and orange. I tried pistachio. Oh, there's so many different kinds. I had a strawberry one time, a stracciatella. My favorite was a fig. Was a walnut and fig gelato, not ice cream. As Christian would say, the gelato is better than ice cream, and it really is. My favorite breakfast probably included a truffle omelet I had in Split with the best mimosa I've ever had in my life because it was fresh squeezed orange juice. Christian doesn't love orange juice. He got some because I wouldn't let him order a Coke for breakfast. And when he took a sip of that orange juice, he said it was so good. And I had to try a sip, and I was like, this is something that needs to be added to mimosa. So I had one. A truffle pasta that Logan had. We went to Mamma Mia 2's restaurant in Vis, Croatia. So everyone thinks of Mamma Mia as being associated with Greece. And the first movie was filmed in Greece, but the second movie was actually filmed in Croatia, not Greece. And so that was one of my favorite ports. It's called Vis. And we went to the restaurant that was featured prominently in the film. And I have a lot of pictures on our Facebook group, Heather and Logan Tate Whimsical Destinations. Just look up, say, Mamma Mia on our Facebook group, and you'll see all the pictures that I posted from there. And so we ate at this restaurant. What was fascinating to me is we thought it was only open 2 hours a day from 12 to 2. Because that's what it said on the sign. And we were so glad we got there just in time. We reserved a table. We went early. We ate right over the water. Amazing food. All the pastas were wonderful. Logan's was the best. He had a truffle pasta, so we kind of stole his pasta and shared it. We had grilled eggplant and zucchini, all different kinds of dishes. And then we realized later, it was not just open 2 hours a day. It's open from 12 noon to 2 a.m. in the morning. So it was open for 14 hours a day. So they like to eat late in Croatia. A lot of the restaurants, people don't even start going out for dinner until 8 p.m. when the sun starts to set and it gets a little cooler because everyone dines al fresco, which if you've listened to other episodes of Talk Travel with Heather Tate, you know I love dining al fresco. So the Croatians are my people when it comes to how they like to eat. Really good breakfast, gelato, and late evening dinners. One of the most interesting things Logan tried was the cuttlefish risotto. I stuck to the vegetable risotto. He tried cuttlefish, which is a squid ink risotto. The tomatoes there, the best tomatoes I've ever had. And I love farm fresh tomatoes. These tomatoes, I don't know what they do, but they are like ripened perfectly. Logan doesn't even like tomatoes. Won't even eat them at home. And he absolutely loved them here. The service was fantastic throughout our entire stay, both on the yacht and off. Safety in Croatia, it's one of the safest countries in Europe. They don't even have to lock their doors. When we were doing a tour of Diocletian's Palace, there was a restaurant and a wine bar where they showed us in the middle of the day. It was closed. Lights were turned off. But our tour guide opened up the doors to show us that you could go in if you wanted to pop in and get a little bit of the air conditioning. And It was such an incredible experience to see that they don't feel like they need to lock their doors because it is safe. Some of my favorite moments. Oh, there's so many. The waterfall boardwalk, Plevitz Lake was stunning. It is everything that I thought it would be from my Instagram, loving self for looking at everything travel related in Croatia, and it surpassed my expectations. From the boat ride there, watching the swans alongside, to walking along the boardwalk and getting to take pictures, it was more impressive to me than Niagara Falls because it was more immersive. No, it wasn't as large as Niagara Falls, but you were walking a boardwalk through the waterfalls. The Mamma Mia Island of Vis, not only the restaurant, which I said was what is definitely a must for me. It was a bucket list experience for me. But when something that was just like from happenstance, we were walking at night after dinner. When we were in Vis, we were walking along looking at the restaurants. We were actually going geocaching, which was our first experience ever geocaching, and we did that in 3 different ports. It was a really cool way to get to see parts of the islands that we would not have gone to if we didn't have that motivation. But we were going to geocache at a cathedral in a hole in the wall to find our very first one, and I kept hearing Mamma Mia music. And earlier in that day, London was playing the Mamma Mia soundtrack from his phone in my ear, and I thought that I was imagining it. So when I heard it again, I heard Waterloo. I thought, okay, is that Colin Firth? Is he here? Or am I imagining this on my own? And they had an outdoor movie screen set up in Vis playing Mamma Mia 2. It just happened to be that night we were there. It had just started. I had made the boys watch it the week before we left, and I thought, this is what I have to do. This is an experience I really want to take. So the boys decided they didn't need to see Mamma Mia 2 back-to-back weeks, so they went back to the yacht with some friends, and Logan and I watched over half of Mamma Mia 2 outside for €5, not each, but for both of us. And it was one of my favorite moments of the trip. It was a surreal experience. Other favorite moments, the swim stops. Every morning we would have a swim stop sometime after breakfast. The water was cold. The Adriatic is cold. It is not like the Caribbean waters I am accustomed to swimming in, but it was so refreshing, especially on a hot day. Shopping. I did buy another lemon dress. I just felt like I needed to, and I found one that was perfect. It was lemons and hydrangeas, so I felt like it was a blend of the Adriatic and the South, so it was calling to me. The Marco Polo tour in Cortula, London and Christian did not even really have a good working understanding or knowledge of who Marco Polo was before this trip, and now they really do. We also went to sword dancing. We had, I said, the drinks at the cafe on top of Marion Hill. Geocaching was an unexpected surprise. So every day there was something just incredible about our experience. I'm going to give you a little bit of advice for anyone going for the first time or interested in taking a yacht in Croatia, because this is a very popular thing. Now, you can join a yacht cruise that's already existing. You can rent out your own yacht for the week. You can go with a company that will sell different cabins. So there's lots of different ways to explore Croatia now by yacht. So we even have friends who are going now next year. I've posted information on our Facebook group about it, and I do think they have a couple of cabins still left for next year, but they are going to sell out very quickly. Some advice for people going for the first time: bring water shoes for the beaches because they're rocks, not sand. Get outside of Dubrovnik if you're going there. Even though it was my only repeat port, because it's the only one I went to the first time I went to Croatia, I would say this time it was my least favorite, only because I had been there before and it felt the most touristy of any of the other locations. So we actually went and did a day trip from there where we explored an island that you can only visit during the day. There are peacocks at the beach. Need I say more? I love peacocks. I love the beach. It was a great combination. It was beautiful. The Iron Throne is there from Game of Thrones, so I have my picture there. Take the city tours. Christian would disagree, but I'm telling you, take the city tours, especially of Diocletian's Palace in Split. Try the local wines. They are the same price, if not less, than a glass of Coke, and they are incredible. They run a little sweeter than some wines, but they are fantastic. What I would do next time, because I will go back to Croatia, if at all possible, I would go visit the lavender fields in Hvar, and I would visit a winery in the vineyards near Split. There's even more I know I would want to do. Go to the ocean organ that plays right on the beach. That's a free organ. I would go there to hear the music playing by the water. But there's so much more I would experience, and we saw a lot in our week on the yacht and our pre and post day. That's all the time we have for this week. Yachting in Croatia was a dream come true, and it exceeded all of my expectations. And you don't have to just take my word for that, because next week I'm going to turn it over to my boys and let them tell you about their experience. Whatever you're doing, whatever adventures you're having this week, make the most of it. Make the memories. Take the trip. You won't regret it.
This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted, and Sun Bear Recording Studio where the interviews are recorded. We need your feedback and support. If you listen to the podcast on a player like iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcasts. Today's episode was produced by Melinda Marsalis. It was edited by Rick Williams and engineered by Chris Marsalis. The podcast technician is Joyce Grady.